asking that I want to practice in Long Island. My other attending who was, there, chest surgeon and the vascular surgeon and cardiac surgeon, and they told me I'm crazy. He said, you are a foreign graduate. There are no Indian physicians practicing in Long Island at that time. Who is going to send you the cases? When you have a Mannix and all other big well-known cardiac surgeon, how are you going to survive? It's better to go in a place when there is no other cardiac surgery, and then you can start and you can develop a big name. But I felt that I like Long Island, I want to live here, and I'm very comfortable that if I get an opportunity, I'll produce as good a result as anybody else. And so to me, I don't accept that I cannot practice because there are no Indian doctors. So I went to Mannix and I asked Dr. Mannix, Dr. Mannix, I need your advice. You have been always honest and truthful to me, because I want to practice in Long Island. And everybody tells me I'm crazy. They say at the end of 2 or 3 years, I will give up, I will go somewhere else, and you will waste my time. You look at me. You say, Manu, there is always place for a good surgeon, especially hard-working good surgeon. I have no doubt in my mind that you will be a successful surgeon. Just don't give up before 3 years. It will take you 3 years to establish yourself. Don't give up early, and you will do all right. I told Dr. Mannix, would you give me privileges at St. Francis Hospital to practice? He said, yes. I will give you privileges. Not only he gave me privileges, but he helped me to get in a staff with other hospitals for cardiothoracic surgery. And so that's how I started. So I wanted to practice cardiothoracic surgery, and I asked the chief of cardiac surgery at Winthrop, where I know a lot of other doctors. He said, no, we don't need another cardiac surgeon. There's not enough work for me, so we don't need it. I said, look, New York State requires 2 cardiac surgeons in each hospital. Well, I don't need it now. When I need it, I will hire another surgeon. But I don't want you. He told me bluntly. I said, okay. Then I applied anyway, and he turned me down. So now I thought that I have other alternative. I think if I join the other old thoracic surgeon, join in his practice, then they have to give me the privileges. So I found out one thoracic surgeon who was planning to retire pretty soon. I did a lot of his cases, thoracic cases. He didn't have cardiac privileges, but thoracic cases. And he said, yes, I will take you as a partner. I won't pay you. You just, whatever you earn, you keep it and pay me part of the part for the office expense. But you'll be my partner and I'll get you in a staff. I said, okay, that's all I need to get me into the staff at the Nassau Hospital. They could not turn me down, because when he got in a staff because of Mangiardi, he took him his partner. He cannot turn me down because I'm joining the Dr. Johnson. So I got a privileges that way. He didn't like it, the chief of cardiac surgery. And he since was against me, because I was a really big threat to him. I was affected by the Vietnam War. I was not sure whether it was the right war or the wrong war. Americans did not understand Oriental philosophy. Oriental philosophy was, in Vietnam, was a strict demonstration that they would not tolerate any foreign power intruding on their land. And that was the reason we were failed. No matter what you do, you cannot succeed in a foreign land. Try to control their destiny. When I started the practice in 1970, I was the first Indian physician to start private practice in Long Island. So nobody was there. And other people came 3 years later, 2 years later, 4 years later. But I was the first one. My daughter Mona was born when I was doing my fellowship at the Winthrop University Hospital.
We were living in a Mineola hospital apartment, and we walked to the hospital. She was such a beautiful little girl, yeah, and she brings us a lot of joy in our life.
Wonderful time. We have now 2 boy and a girl. We're doing very well and continue to do well. Wonderful child, very sweet. And I've enjoyed whatever the time I had spending with them.
My memories of childhood start back to when we lived in Mineola. My father was in training when I was young. I was through first grade, and I don't have a lot of memories outside of we lived in a neighborhood of young physicians and young kids, and it was fun and nice, and we spent a lot of time with those families. I don't really remember spending a lot of time with my dad. I think he was working pretty hard.
I did not have money, so I needed loan. I think if I can get a 15,000 loan from the bank, I would rent the office and start my own practice. If I get a privileges, I know I will get a privilege at St. Francis, and I will get in a staff for the smaller hospitals. But I wanted to get privileges at the Winthrop, because that's where I knew many, many physicians who became very good friend of mine. So I thought that I would have a strong base at the Winthrop. St. Francis was a very, very limited number of cardiologists, and they stick to each other, and I don't think the foreign graduate will break through that tight filling there. When I got the privileges, my first open heart, actually I did it at St. Francis. I was first week in a practice. I was called in a SIAS at the emergency room, and there was a 16-year-old girl on a birth control pill, was dying from massive pulmonary embolus, blood clots in the lung, and she was dying in the emergency room. So they called me at SIAS. I went there immediately, and I went in an ambulance with her, took her to St. Francis Hospital. I called the operating room, and I called Dr. Mannix. He said, okay, bring it in and do your case. Whatever you need my help, I will help you. I said, okay. So I did the first open heart with pulmonary embolectomy at St. Francis Hospital. She did very well. So I arrived home, and 5 days later she went home. I used to get a Christmas card from her for 25 years, every year. I had to finish my surgical residency to take the surgical board, which I took my surgical board 1970. And then a year later, I got my thoracic board and cardiovascular and thoracic surgery. So I am double boarded, general surgery plus thoracic surgery, even though I never practiced general surgery. When he died, I cried a lot. He was a wonderful person. And I really felt his loss. I was very much close to him and very much attached to him. I'm sorry that. And I made a vow to take care of his family. I've been taking care of all these 3 sons for all these years. If they have any family occasion, their wedding or everything, I took care of them. Initially, I worked in a surrounding hospital. I worked at a Syosset, did the call at night, take care of the patient and things like that, and got paid for it for hourly basis. I did it for about 6 months before I got really busy. So I got some income coming in on a regular basis in the first 6 months of my practice. And then gradually I got busy. I took a call in emergency room and I pick up the cases here and there in emergency room and then bill them for the services I render. And it took me a good 2 years before I really felt comfortable that I will be successful. It's a matter of time. I had a lot of friends, a lot of doctors like me at Winthrop, and started beginning to send me the work. And gradually I built up a respectable practice.
To continue to fight through the months ahead for my personal vindication would almost totally absorb the time and attention of both the President and the Congress in a period when our entire focus should be on the great issues of peace abroad and prosperity without inflation at home. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow. Vice President Ford will be sworn in as president at that hour in this office.
Raj, born in 2 Shady Lane, Laurel Hollow. This is our first house. So we were also very happy to have him. Actually, we wanted to have 4 children, but after the 3rd one, we thought that's enough, because raising the children was not that easy.
We bought this house in 1972, and he was born in 74, Raj. I paid $79,000 for this house. We have a 2-acre land. We had a swimming pool at that time. I put tennis court later on, and I put deck later on. But we have a main house, it remained the same. I just modernized a little bit and modernized the bathroom, but main house remained the same. At that time, I used to give a lecture all over the places. I used to go in all surrounding small hospitals, in Long Island, in Nassau, and in Suffolk. And every weekend, Saturdays when they have a meeting, I go and give a lecture on coronary bypass or on other heart subjects, pacemakers and etc.
Well, I met Dr. Sutaria in 1975 when I first came to Winthrop University Hospital to run the cardiology program and to run the cardiac catheterization laboratory. It was my responsibility to take care of the open heart surgical patients, and Dr. Sutaria was one of the cardiac surgeons at the hospital when I first started there. Shortly after I met Dr. Sutaria, I started to refer patients to him because I had heard of his reputation, and I found in working with him that he was an excellent surgeon. He was compassionate, he was technically very, very competent, and when I sent patients to him, they got good surgical results. So I began referring patients to him in 1975, and I continued to do so throughout his career.
I was just 4 years in practice and beginning to get reasonable amount of referral from Winthrop University Hospital. The chief of cardiac surgery there, who was a partner of Mangiardi, didn't like that. He feels that every cardiac surgeon should do minimum 250 open heart he's not doing enough cases and there is no room for 2 cardiac surgeons. And he made a move to the medical board to take away my cardiac privileges. So I got a letter from the president of the medical board that Monashami wants to take away my cardiac privileges on the ground that he is not doing enough cases. Well, that was stressful, because once you lose your privileges, you will never going to get anywhere else in the United States, no matter how you try to explain them. No. So I have no choice but to fight it. I hired one of the big law firms from New York City and told them story, and he said, okay, I will come and defend you. He came here in medical board meeting and he told the medical board that if anything happens to Dr. Sutaria's privileges, you are violating his human right to practice independently in his practice. If he is doing something wrong or if he is killing the patient, then you tell me. If he is not, then you cannot take away his privileges because his competitor is not doing enough cases. They are both in private practice. And if that thing happens, I'm going to take it all the way to the Washington. And I have a Human Rights Commission coming in right here. And if anybody votes against Dr. Sutaria, I'm going to sue you. After that, medical board unanimously voted in my favor. So I was doing reasonably well in my practice, running around all over the places. And suddenly, I had a major heart attack.
And he was in Syosset Hospital, and he called me. And I live only a few minutes from Syosset Hospital. And I arrived at the hospital. He was in the intensive care unit, and as I got there, he had a cardiac arrest, and I resuscitated him.
He actually had to be resuscitated twice. They had to actually shock him back to life twice when he had critical heart rhythms that were not compatible with life. So, I mean, it was as close a call as you could possibly have.
It was February 28, 1976. Sunday morning. Saturday night I played card with my friends, and we used to play card once a week. I used to drink, I used to smoke. So we drank, we smoked, and we enjoyed ourselves once a week. And also in 5 years in practice, I didn't take care of myself. I gained weight. Basically, it was a stressful life, running around, not eating regularly. The most important thing was that I was stressed, heavily stressed by competition in cardiac surgery. I was having a very difficult time with the chief of cardiac surgeon at Winthrop University Hospital. He was after me. He wanted to hurt me. So I have to be careful, make sure I keep my chart very clean. I write note every day, make sure I don't do anything questionable case. And so I continue to do that, but it created a stress.
It rendered his heart functioning at about 30 or 40% of normal function, which never really impacted him until 30, 35 years later when he needed subsequent heart procedures. But he really was okay from that perspective, once he recovered. At that time in the 70s, the rehab for this type of a thing was really just stop. Stop work, stop the stressful activities in life, and he really took that to heart. He actually stopped working, and he took a 6-month hiatus in his career, which is remarkable to think about it. He didn't have partners. He couldn't have had income. He may have had some disability income coming in, but he took 6 months to really contemplate life. And I think it was an absolutely sentinel moment in his life, and something that changed the course of all of our lives. And I think it really changed his focus on life also. After that heart attack, the things that I remember was, number one, he was home. I saw him all the time. He grew a big beard, completely out of character. He started taking piano lessons just enormously out of character.
I got depressed. I said, what the hell am I going to do? I have three kids now. Youngest one is only 1 year old or 2 year old. And I have so many members of my family is coming here. I have sponsored them. And quite honestly, I thought that I'm not going to live more than 10 years. Knowing the nature of the coronary artery disease, I thought all other things about your practice and your name and recognition and writing the papers and giving the lectures and presentation has no meaning at that point. Only thing important was my family and children. So I decided that I have to do something about it.
Once he got his first heart attack, then he suddenly realized, oh, doctor told me I'm not going to be too long here. And it really struck him, I have to take care of my family and my children first before anything. And then he completely changed his lifestyle.
I went on a strict diet, regular exercise. I lost 40 pounds in 6 months. It was a very good 6 months. I have no stress, doing well. I have a reasonably good account receivable, so I was getting enough money to make a good living. I bought the condo at the riverhead. On the summertime, we went to the bluff and played golf with my family. And in the wintertime, I bought a condo in the Camelback Mountain on the slope, so we can ski right off the slope from our condo. And wintertime, I ski with my kids.
That event, interestingly enough, not only changed our lives, it sort of changed the course of heart surgery in Nassau County, because all of his competitors, all the other heart surgeons, there's 3 others at the time, and they were all solo practitioners. They were all, dog eat dog. It was just a nasty environment. But I think they were tremendously sobered by the fact that working hard and being stressed out could ultimately lead to a near-death experience. They all essentially settled their differences and formed a practice together. And at that point, my father had partners, and everyone benefited in terms of quality of life. Everyone benefited in terms of income. Everyone benefited in terms of prestige. And they became the dominant, heart surgery practice at Winthrop Hospital, basically the only one.
Because of the political injustice was going to be done to me, I thought that no other private practitioners should have to go through the same thing by their departmental chief who wants to protect his practice. So I thought that it's time for me to stimulate the other medical staff to form your own medical staff organization. So I had a meeting when I went back in a few months of the leading medical staff member in my office and suggested the idea that we should have our own organization. When I talked to the administration, he said, we already have a staff organization. I said, that's you have a staff. You appoint the 5 members at large, but they are not the voting member of the medical staff. And when you appoint somebody is under your guidance to vote, whatever the way you want them to vote. I would like to have the totally staff, independent, elected by the medical board, medical staff. And I became a first secretary of the medical staff organization. I wrote the bylaws. I went to the AMS meeting. And at that time, I think many hospitals was having a similar problem by the administration to restrict the private practice and have full-timers take over the practice. And that was going on at that time. So I got the model bylaws from the AMA, so how the staff should organize and what bylaws should include to protect their private practice. So I got that thing done, and we had a president, and we have 5 members at large. Before was appointed by the administration. Now we have 3 officers of the medical staff. President, vice president, secretary should be in a medical board. So we have now 8 members. We are elected by the medical staff into the medical board to have some voice. So the similar thing, to they what is best for medical staff and not what is best for some individual. Our group did very well. Everybody was happy because they are putting away a lot of money in our pension, and our practice was getting stronger and stronger. We are generating 20% more income for in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, and everybody were happy. But we also not only open heart, but we also did the lung surgery. I also did the esophageal surgery, and also the vascular surgery. I did the carotid endarterectomy, abdominal aneurysm, bypass to the leg. We were the only last generation of the surgeon who did everything: vascular surgery, thoracic surgery, pacemaker, and cardiac surgery. Nowadays, only cardiac surgeon does cardiac surgery, vascular surgeon does vascular, chest surgeon does pacemaker and the chest surgery.
He was always been a very motivated person. Whatever he wanted to do, he will work very hard to get it. He had no fear, always fight for it, and always he got the way he wanted. And to achieve, particularly being a cardiovascular surgeon in America, and particularly in Mineola, where not that many foreign doctors are there, it was very, very difficult for him. But he proved to the people that he is one of the best surgeon around, and people really respect him for that. And whenever I went with him, they always talk very highly about him, and I was very, very proud of him.
I guess I don't really know a lot about my dad as a doctor, because I know him as a dad, and I know him as someone who can give me advice about medicine, but never saw him as a patient. But I think the things that he has and qualities that I value are extreme honesty. I mean, he's not selling you he's not selling you something. If you go to see him as a patient, and I know this from being a surgeon myself, is you can approach things in many different ways. You can be a salesman, you can sell a bill of goods to somebody, or you can just tell them the truth and really just lay it out there. And I think that is, by no question, that's the nature of who he is. I mean, that's how he practiced. I think he was exceptionally honest. I think he was a good technician.
Cardiac surgery was an easy thing to do. I have no problem doing it. Even the tough cases, I never get nervous or get uptight about it. I am always utmost confident that everything will be turned all right. Occasionally it doesn't, but so be it. But basically I was very comfortable doing any kind of cases and difficult cases. As a matter of fact, most of the difficult cases, people were referring to me, and I didn't bother me, and I said, okay, fine, I will do it, whatever is necessary.
He always said, you have to feel like you're the best at what you do, because that's the nature of surgery. If you don't feel like that, then it's hard for you to justify operating on someone. But he also said, don't ever be fooled. There's 1,000 people who can do what you do, and there's nothing very special about you. So, you have to understand that no matter how good you are, there's a lot of people that are good, and you just can't let your ego get the best of you. You have to. I think that goes back to him being a humble person, and that was specific to surgical skill. I think he was basically saying, yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm the best out there, but I also know there's a lot of other people who can do exactly what I do.
So I have applied for the intention to become a citizen, and ultimately I got a call, and it was March 1976 I became a US citizen. First of all, you have to file the declaration of the intention, and you say that you're working here, you've done this thing, you file for it. When they approve it, they'll give you the certificate. You go there and take an oath. So when I become a US citizen, they call me again. I register myself. I say I'm willing to serve if there is a need for it. But because you are a physician and you have young children, and they would not consider me at that time. And I never got a call to be drafted. I felt very, very proud to be a U.S. citizen. No doubt in my mind.
When he came here, I know that becoming successful and becoming a surgeon and becoming a heart surgeon was important to him, but I think he always wanted to do what was right by his extended family, by his brothers and sisters, and I don't think he would have felt successful unless he did something to help their lot in life. That's not to say that they wouldn't have been successful without him, but you know, it certainly gave the impetus to get them to the United States. You needed to have that first person, and that first person was my dad, and through him, all the other siblings were able to immigrate to the United States. And when they did come, a lot of the times, as with first-generation immigrant families, you live together. And we always had people living with us when I was young, and it's a hard concept for people in America to sort of think about today, but we always had other families living with us, all here to essentially pursue education or to pursue work and essentially, make a life in America. Pretty much all the businesses he invested in were really with the intent of having other members of his family find some meaningful work there. So it was always businesses that were manned by other family members. And again, I don't think he would have felt successful unless he did that.
The first people which came initially was my three brothers. I sent one brother in Miami to do the MBA. He had done a graduate degree in India, and he did the MBA in the college there. And then I sent the other brother into Michigan for chemical engineering, and he finished that chemical engineering from there. And then I sent my brother-in-law, who did the civil engineering in India. He did a master's in engineering in a college over here. I was fortunate enough to make a lot of money, and I personally thought it was my responsibility and duty to help them, to get them on their own feet, to establish a new life in this country for them and their families.
The fact that Doc has taken care of and helped people arrive here and arrange for them to get going with businesses, it's interesting because he never talks about it. It's a quiet pride that he has. He's not looking at it to gain attention. It's the importance of family. It's the importance of education, which knowing Doc is the most important thing out there, is family and education.
After my dad died in '81, he had a heart attack and suddenly died. And then my mom and my sisters. Then my sister died, living in a big town, Rajkot. I bought the big apartment there, on the second floor, and they were very happy. Then when my sister died, I brought my mom over here, and she lived the last few years here. She lived with me and my brother, stay a few months here and a few months here, and wherever she wants to stay. And she was very happy. He's always praised, my son is a doctor, and so is my father. They were very, very proud and happy about me.
I thought he was remarkable. I thought that this was the kind of person that we needed to bring to this country. As a consequence of Dr. Sutaria coming here, he brought nieces and nephews and brothers and sisters. I don't know how many people he brought here, but I was at a retirement party a number of years ago, and he had a number of generations of people who he was directly responsible for. He brought them to this country. Not only did he bring them here, he paid for their educations. He's generated attorneys, physicians, accountants, some of the best people that this country could ask for. And in my mind, Dr. Sutaria represents the American dream. He represents the immigrant who came to this country, who built a life for himself, started out with nothing, became extremely successful, and used that success to bring family members over to this country who in their own right became extremely successful, and all of that enhances the country. I mean, it's just good for the United States. I think this is what we need. This is the kind of immigration program that is typical of the American dream.
I made the decision. I thought the life is much better in this country. If they came over here, they would live a much better life and their children will have a much brighter future. And I was absolutely right. Among the people who came here today, we have 17 physicians in all brothers and sisters and their dependents. We have 3 pharmacists. We have 3 engineers, 3 in healthcare and nursing, 2 in IT, and 4 in business. So they are all doing extremely well. This is my real wealth. Something. You know, money comes and goes. But this, we are now today is about 136. My brothers and sisters, their descendants, and everybody. And they are all over the places. And that is my real joy in life.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
My dad was always, outside of being a physician, and again, even after the heart attack, when he was focusing on family, one of the important aspects of that was he was always an entrepreneur. He was really trying to look at the world from a businessman's perspective. And some of that's cultural. Our group in India are essentially a merchant business class. And I think a lot of that is sort of in his blood almost. And he was always interested in different businesses. There was a major landmark legal case that allowed for the establishment of generic pharmaceuticals in the 1980s. And I think my father was very sensitive to that. He understood that climate. And when that happened, he felt like it was a very fertile time for the pharmaceutical generic industry. He felt like that was going to explode. And he had the opportunity to invest in a company on Long Island, which was an initial investment called Interpharm. That company was having some troubles financially. I think they'd even had some FDA issues at that point, being run under different management. And eventually it became an opportunity for my father to take over the company entirely. And so when he started running Interpharm, he was still actively in the practice of heart surgery, but his younger brother became the executive there, Bupak, and his wife worked there, and my mom worked there. My mom had really never worked in a job outside of the house. And so with that core there, they essentially ran a small generic pharmaceutical company that they grew over time. And as it grew, it basically moved from a small place in Plainview to the much larger facility out in Hauppauge. And he oversaw all of that. He really, allowed for this company to grow and expand. He provided financing when money was necessary, but really grew that business into a fairly large, thriving generic pharmaceutical company. Ultimately, with the vision of becoming a much, much bigger company, we did a few things. We brought in some investors, some large capital investors, and we also became a publicly traded company.
I remain chairman of the company. I hired the new CEO, which was my second biggest mistake in my life. First one to become a public company, and this is the second biggest mistake in my life, to hire a CEO from the big drug company. He overexpanded, overspent, hired so many more people, And it was against my philosophy. My philosophy was always been, you earn first and then you spend. So we have this kind of expenses. We file, yes, we did a lot of research. We got a lot of product. We filed for the FDA approval. Some of the key product did not get a timely approval. Meanwhile, the bank was getting nervous, want their money. They missed the covenant twice, and now bank wanted out. They want out, and there is no way I could give that kind of money to the bank and solve this problem. So finally we were forced to sell. Sold it for 79 million. Paid 30 million to the bank, remaining to the other thing. Venture capital people lost their money, 80% of their money they lost. And I got my money back because all the money I invested was a preferred share at 5%, which they have to pay first. And all the loan they have to pay with a 5% interest. So I got what I put it in plus more, but I didn't get the 100 million I wanted to earn for my family. And that was the drawback. And that was my first failure in my life.
So by the time we ended up selling, we essentially got back our investment, so we didn't lose our shirts, which was nice. And on the flip side of that, it provided 20 years of employment for my uncle, his wife, and my mom, and it allowed my uncle to send 3 kids to Dartmouth. One of them was a doctor now. There's like a lot of other good stuff that happened because of this. So we try to philosophically think about this company and say, it could have been a monster, but it wasn't. But a lot of good happened because of it.
When I retired, I was 63. I already have almost practiced 30 years. I have a problem with my health. Doing the coronary bypass surgery, patient is a little higher. You sit in a platform, and when you're taking out the memory from the chest, you retract side of the breastbone, and you dissect under the artery. So it takes about half an hour. And with a hyperextension of the neck, causing the neck problem. And every time I do that, an arm elevation, I felt numbness in my hand. And I thought, well, I think it's time to pack it up. I thought I would miss the surgery, but I didn't, because I had other interests, Interfarm and generic company and other business interests and all other things. So I was busy enough to do other things rather than just doing the cardiac surgery. I became involved as a trustee to North Shore LIJ healthcare system, which was a big honor. They invited me to join the board as a trustee, and I did that, and I was there for almost 7 or 8 years till I retired about a year ago when I was very sick, a year and a half ago. That I could not drive and all other things. So, but I enjoy doing that part of my social contribution to the community.
Well, beginning was tough because I always was myself in the house. So my husband was started retiring all the time. He was in the house. It was very difficult adjustment to make. But finally, I think we started enjoying doing things together. Played more golf, went traveling little more often, local area which we never used to go before, local Long Island places which we did, which was very nice. And spend more time with the grandchildren, their activities and things. And time went by very quickly before we realized.
I still used to ski, but then when I got very sick with the last 5 years, my wife wouldn't let me ski. She's worried about that I fall and break my leg or something. And now I'm 78. and something happens, it's not that desirable taking a chance. I enjoy the golf, I enjoy the traveling. We did a lot of traveling. I think I traveled almost 40 countries, different countries in the world. In the beginning, I used to take my children with me when they were young, in different countries and traveling. A friend of mine, Dr. Patwa and his wife, he and I together, we traveled 38 international trips, and we had a great time together. I thought the most favorite was Namibia. They have a gold mine, country is very, very good, very little poverty because the income from the diamond is shared by the group, and they use that income to pay for the schools and roads and all other things. It was a good country, Namibia, and it was a very, very enjoyable trip.
Tonight, America is at war with terrorists after a stunning series of attacks today against targets in New York and in Washington, D.C., the World Trade Center and the Pentagon.
I was playing golf with my wife, and I went to the halfway house, and I saw on the television the plane hitting the World Trade Center. I said, oh my God. I stopped playing the golf. I went to the clubhouse inside and I saw all this thing happen. Second plane came in, and then I came home. I saw the collapse of the World Trade Center, both towers. It was shocking. It was shocking. So many people were killed. Basically, this is the anti-American philosophy throughout the Muslim world. Some of them become fanatics. All Muslims are not bad. But some subsection of the Muslims have a different philosophy. They don't recognize other religion. They don't recognize any other people except the Muslims. And that kind of philosophy is not good in this world, and is hurting now. The whole world is getting hurt. This is a cancer. You have to eliminate them, and it requires a lot of courage. You have to put your boots into the ground and get them out.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world.
When we sold the Interfarm completely, then I decided that I would rather in the winter time go to Florida. So my children told me that they have a condo in Aventura, Florida. They bought it several years ago, about 7-8 years ago, and they go off and on vacation there. They say it's a good place and like it. So I said, okay, then if I want to retire in Florida, maybe I should go and stay there.
We enjoy staying there. It's a beautiful community. We do a lot of activities there. So our time flies by very quickly, and we made a lot of friends, so we do a lot of things together.
There is an activity there. We go out for a dinner twice a week. We go for a movie once a week, every Tuesday, and we have a very enjoyable time.
He's had a lot of health problems recently, and aside from the fact that I'm a friend and a colleague, I'm also his doctor, and I've taken care of him in some pretty tough times, and he's really doing well now, and it makes me very happy to see him functioning at such a high level after all the difficulties he's been through in the last 4 or 5 years. It's just amazing how he's been able to recuperate from all his medical problems, and he's always been a fighter. He's never one to give up, and now he's really doing great.
When I get up, I do my brush, I check my blood sugar for my diabetes, I weigh myself, and then I do my yoga. Basically, I would do a lot of back stretching and exercise. While I'm doing it, I'm praying, and I have 7 gods to pray. I'm concentrating on that prayer, and that is very important, gives me peace of mind at that time, and it eliminates all other thoughts. I have 2 basic mantras. The one is the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and second one is the Gayatri mantra, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tasya Vitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Pachodayat. These are the praying for all the gods in the world. By doing this thing, you eliminate all negative thoughts from your mind, from anybody. So it is important that you start your day with a positive thought, doing positive thing in your life. With the yoga and with the prayer, you have a peace of mind. Once you are happy and have peace of mind, everything else goes well whole day.
I think my dad has become increasingly more spiritual as he's gotten a bit older. I would say that I don't think religion was paramount in our household when I was young, but I think as he's become older and a bit more philosophic, I think he finds great joy in those simple things, about routine. He is an incredibly disciplined human being. I've never met anyone who basically had the type of determination that he has. He's basically driven, and he will follow through, which is remarkable because, I won't. I have the same fallibilities as anybody else, but my dad he's a very determined person, and it's an incredibly unique characteristic.
I believe in all religion, okay, and so I have no doubt about going to the temple or Jewish temple or the Christian temple, church. I have no problem. I go and pray for all the religious places, and among Hinduism, so many subdivisions. So I go different temple, doesn't matter, but I pray basically the same 7 God. Usually they have the deity of those, and I pray for those. But I am not a very religious person. I don't go regularly at the temple, Hindu temple. I go maybe twice a year, 3 times a year. My philosophy with my children is whatever makes them happy, I would accept it. And I never put my philosophy on them. Let them do whatever they want. If they're doing a wrong thing, I will criticize them, tell them. But I would not push them one way or other to do different things. I guide them to some extent, and they turned out to be all very good kids. Perry is the brightest guy. Perry is the A+ student from the beginning. He was the only Indian boy in our Cold Spring Harbor School District. We were the first Indian family in Long Island. And so all his friends were American. But he has a good heart. He used to teach other students who were left out. He helped them to do their homework. So he had that philosophy. He's a very, very likable guy. He loves sports. All my children love sports. We had an Islander hockey ticket, season ticket for many years. Then we have a Yankee season tickets, 4 tickets for many, many years. Now he is practicing in New Jersey. He is going to be more successful than I am. I know that because he is very well liked, and he has a business mind, very much similar to mine.
But my dad had tremendous influence on me because he was the example that was there for me when I was deciding what to do with my life. I was lucky to have the ability to go to good schools with my dad's support, and then that was able to translate into great medical education, which has really set me up in life. I certainly could have done it without a role model, and there's no question he was a wonderful role model. And philosophically, I think the things that he gave me allowed me to make decisions in my career that have put me in a place where I couldn't be happier with my life, based on the decisions I made, most of which were based on his philosophies.
Mona is a good kid. I love Mona. Among all three children, I think I'm much more closer to Mona than anybody else. And always father-daughter has something special. Unfortunately, you know, her husband died, and I have to make sure she lives comfortably, and she is enjoying her life, and she's doing great. She has raised two kids very nicely. She devoted all her energy into raising the two daughters. But she is a wonderful person, and I love it. Raj was the youngest guy. He was an athlete, very good athlete. He loved the sports. He loved the team sports. He played the football. He was a quarterback in the school in the football, you know, in a reserve for a while. Then he played tennis. He was a very good tennis player. But Raj was a B student, B+, and he went to the University of Colorado. He loved skiing there, so he used to spend a lot of time skiing, and he's an expert skier. And after he finishing, he joined our company, generic company, and he worked in every department, worked very hard, finally specializing in rules and regulation, FDA. So when we sold the company, he's still working there. He became a departmental head in a very big company now. He's doing well.
Oh, I'm definitely very proud of everybody. I think everybody achieved according to their level of their capability. And all of them are doing very, very good. I think my grandchildren are doing very well too. Two of them are already 17, going to leave for the college next year. And they are growing up and beautiful children, American, Indian, mixed students, and doing very well.
I think key to the happy marriage is not to fight. A lot of people say without fighting is no good. I say I disagree. I don't think why we should fight. You can always argue once in a while, and you're not going to be 100% sure that both of us are going to think the same way. We have a different view and express our different view. But basically we are happy doing the thing commonly. And we find the way to do things common. We find the way to play tennis together. We found the way to play golf together. When I was playing golf and when I was healthy, every Sunday was my day with my wife to play golf.
I love my husband very much. I spent 52 years of my life with him.
When I see them, they're a lovely couple. I just recently went down to see them down in Aventura, and to see them sit there together, the way they care for each other, you would never know. You would think they were childhood sweethearts. And that's the passion for life and for love that they share with each other. And it's reflected in the family, it's reflected in the larger family, how they've taken care of everybody.
I think family is the most important thing in your life. I really do. Because only people, when you are gone, only people who is going to miss you is your family. Other people will forget you in a short period of time. So the family and your education you provide and the philosophy you give them to live and learn more in life, that's going to last a long time. My philosophy is going to be Indian philosophy, giving it to the children that you learn to live with other people and share. Share. Whatever you have, you share. I have provided them enough resources so their life will be secure. Maybe I'm doing a wrong thing, or I did the wrong thing by giving them a security, financial security, so in this life they will never have to worry financially. But I don't know whether it was a right thing or wrong thing. But I did it for my own satisfaction. For my family to learn something in my life is don't give up. Work very hard. There is always some solution somewhere. You look for it, work hard, and you will solve your problem.
He's a tremendously successful person in all facets of life. He's so proud of his family. He's proud of what he's done for his family. But it's not just what he's done, it's their ability to capture what he gave them in the beginning and to prosper. He's a tremendously happy person, successful person, and blessed.
If you were going to ask him how he wants to be remembered, I would have to say the biggest focus would be that, would be his commitment to his family, both his children and his wife, but also his extended family. He's the type of person who no matter what circumstances arose, would never ever do anything but take the high road. He's a very kind person. And despite all of the intellectual power and all of the great success, I think that's the real core of that human being, is that he's a really decent human being and would never really do anything ever to hurt somebody, and was always interested in making sure the people around him were doing well.
Mano, it has been my pleasure to have been your friend and your colleague over all these years. I've always respected you both as a surgeon and as a person. I think that you have contributed to medicine and you've contributed to our country. I only wish that there were more people like you and that we had more people that we could speak to about the accomplishments that you've achieved in your lifetime.
Very humble, bright, honest, good businessman, good family man. Fights for his right.
The way I did it for my old brothers and sisters and everybody else gradually, and I give a lot of credit to my wife because they all came here and they stayed here in the guest house initially till they rehabilitated themselves and found their own way. It is one thing that is my family, but it's the entirely different thing when she has to do and take care of them. But she did it, and she doesn't have to do that, but she did it, and so I give a lot of credit to her.
Hope when you take that jump, you don't feel the fall. Hope when the water rises houses, you built a wall. Hope when the crowd screams out, you're screaming your name. Hope if everybody runs, you choose to stay. Hope that you fall in love and it hurts so bad. Hey, the only way you can know, you give it all you had. And I hope that you don't suffer, but take the pain. Hope when the moment comes, you'll say,
proudest moment in personal life was the marriage of my daughter with Munish Rameta. He was a very smart kid, very bright individual lawyer. He worked in New York City with Sullivan and Cromwell, one of the biggest law firms in the country. He loved his family, and he was a very, very family-oriented person.